Hello there and welcome. I am so glad that you're here today. We are live. We're going to be talking about something that is incredibly important, and that's how to optimize your funeral home's website to ensure that when families visit, they feel supported, they feel like they can find the information that they need, and ultimately, what we want them to do is if they are there for immediate need or for pre-planning, we want them to reach out to you, right? So we want to make that as easy for them as possible. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, what we found is that a well-optimized website can make all the difference between families feeling lost and overwhelmed versus feeling comforted and confident in choosing your funeral home. So let's dive in and explore how to make your website work at its highest level. So this is all part of the Eternal Marketing Accelerator. It is a proven strategy to maximize your online presence and really just ensure families can find and connect with your funeral home when they need it most. So a truly optimized website will help your the how families can or how many families will be able to contact you online, right? And you need several key pieces in place for this. So a well-optimized website actually helps guide families and it's going to encourage them to reach out. It's also going to help with a strong organic visibility. And what that means is that you're going to show up in the search results when families are looking for funeral services. Now, when it comes to paid advertising, including Google Ads and local service ads, this is going to help reach those that are searching for immediate need. And when it comes to marketing automation, it also ensures that every time someone comes to the website and they make an inquiry, like say they don't actually call you, but they fill out a form or something, we want to make sure that you have a timely follow-up, whether that's someone that's talking about pre-planning, someone who may be with a family member in hospice, or someone who is in immediate need, but unable at that moment to actually pick up the phone and talk. Also, this is about having presence just everywhere in your community when people are searching, when they're looking on Google, when they're looking at social media and beyond. So today, we're going to focus on the foundation of your website, right? Because no matter how strong your marketing is, if your website isn't built to convert, you'll be losing families that need services. And when I say to convert, what I mean is websites that are built for people to take the action that you want them to take. So, without further ado, let's dive in and let's explore how to ensure that your website is set up for success. So, this is the Accelerated Growth Roadmap. And really, what it is a step by step plan designed specifically for your funeral homes and crematories to help you connect with more families by getting your internet marketing right. The roadmap, I like to divide it into three key areas, okay? That's drive leads, maximize conversions, and optimize results. So let's break it down. Now, when we say drive leads, what we're talking about is having people actually contact us. And how do we drive that? We drive that with organic. So we're attracting families with search engine optimization through directories and other non-paid sources, right? So organic means non-paid. You're not paying ads for people to click on that. And the goal is to reach people without wasting time or unnecessary things that may get in the way. Okay. Now, the second is paid. You can use paid traffic sources. So we're talking things about like Google Ads, right? Or if for pre-planning, a lot of people like to use social media ads, like Facebook ads, Meta ads, and that's to drive targeted leads and make sure that's profitable. We want to avoid overspending, and we definitely don't want to attract the wrong audience because when we do, then we're just have low quality of people that are contacting us. They don't align with what we offer. And then the last part is database marketing. And really that's leveraging your existing customers and site visitors through email, SMS, phone campaigns, and that will generate more booked services and more pre-planning sales. Okay. Then there's the second pillar, which is maximize conversions. Now, when we maximize conversions on the website, you want to make sure that your website is people are going to take the action that you want them to take two uh, sorry, 2 to 10 times more visitors will take those actions without requiring a huge investment. Okay. So we want to make sure that things are functional and effective. Then there's reputation. We want to build trust by driving more online reviews from happy families, right? A strong reputation online helps attract more families without actually chasing them down. That's one of the number one fears that people have when they are in a situation and they are at need is, I don't want to get ripped off. And a lot of times what they're looking at is they're looking at your reputation. And how are they seeing that? They're seeing that by how many reviews you have and, how many stars you have. So reputation is very, very, very important for that. Automation, we put automations in there because we want to make sure that we follow up with every family that places an inquiry within 30 seconds or less. And we want to make sure that we have at least 5 touch points through an automated system that's going to save you and your staff time. But if somebody makes an inquiry through a form, we want to make sure that we're reaching out until they let us know that they don't need our help. Okay. Now, the third pillar is going to be to optimize your results. And what we're looking at is total spend, right? We want to get clarity on your marketing investment so we can align the investment with your growth goals. There shouldn't be any guessing or overspending, right? So in the beginning, you're spending money to get kind of like the lay of the land, and you want to do everything that you can do to start optimizing that, right? You want to know your average cost per lead. So how much are you spending for every person who's making an inquiry so you can monitor that performance and then make a decision that's based on that data, right? So that you know what channel is the best one that's working for you. And then the last part is ROI, your return on investment. So you want to track your ROI by the channel so that you can determine what's working and focus your resources where they're going to generate the best results. So when you align your marketing efforts with these 3 areas, then you set your funeral home up for sustainable growth and success in 2025. Now, we're going to focus on one of the most critical parts of the accelerated growth roadmap, which is maximizing conversions, right? And like I said, this means turning website visitors, having them take the actual steps, do the things that we actually want them to do, which is typically turn them into actual clients. So what can you do on your website so that when someone gets to your website, you can turn them into a client, another family that you serve? And why website optimization matters for funeral homes, right? Your website is the first impression that a family has of your funeral home. If they can't find the information that they need, or if the website doesn't accurately represent your funeral home, if your funeral home is warm and inviting, and you offer compassionate services, as so many people say, then, but the website doesn't give that feeling, then the people may just leave. And then they're going to go onto the competitor. So a well-optimized website can double or more the amount of people that are going to be contacting you through the website. So I'd like you to keep in mind that your website is not just an online brochure, okay? This is a tool, and it's going to help families make one of the most important decisions in their lives, right? So we have to optimize your website for clarity, yes, for trust, ease of use. And when you do that, you can have a meaningful impact, and you can ensure that more families turn to your funeral home when they are at need. Now, just a few house rules, if you don't mind. If you are watching this live, let's turn off our cell phones close any social media tabs unless you're watching this on social media, of course. If you're truly serious about improving your funeral home's online presence, getting more reviews, and especially getting high quality reviews, and also having more families who actually get to your website contact you, then I ask you to please, just give your focus here for the next 40 minutes or so. Let's focus on and make the most of the time that we have here. And for those of you who don't know me, just a quick intro. My name is Oscar Guerrero. I am the director and founder over at Funeral Marketing Pros. I have over 10 years of hands-on experience in all aspects of digital marketing, from technical SEO to meta ads and email marketing. And, over the years, I've helped hundreds of small to medium-sized businesses generate over $100 million in revenue. Now, I'm also a member of Seven Figure Agency, where I help small marketing agencies grow into $1 million businesses. And I've been active in the industry, working closely with funeral homes and crematories. And today, I'm excited to share how you can use optimization of your website to help your funeral home. And so this is what we do, right? I think it's super important just to understand that our mission is simple, and our mission is to protect your business, stay ahead of the competition, help funeral homes and crematories adapt to the changing landscape, right? There's never a dull moment in this. Things are always changing. Not only is cremation now the more and more becoming the norm, but now we have new technologies that are also becoming the norm. We have a new generation of people who are making the decision on what funeral home they're going to choose next. And we kind of have to be where our audience is, right? So really, adaptation is such a big part of this. And that's what we specialize in. If you're looking to adapt, to protect the market share that you have, or to grow your market share, then you're going to want to follow us. Okay, so let's get into the problem. All right, folks, let's take a moment to talk about what's really going on in the funeral profession and in the funeral business, right? Because really, we're in the middle of a perfect storm. And it's changing the way that funeral homes do business in ways that we've never seen. And we really do anticipate more and more changes that are going to be coming. Okay. First off, competition is getting fierce. We know that for independent funeral homes are up against, big corporate companies, many companies now coming in as direct cremation, on top of that, competitors, right, are other family-owned funeral home, independent funeral homes, which are competitors, are stepping up their game, right? And that adds pressure if you're not adapting. And speaking of pressure, cremation rates are skyrocketing, so more and more families are opting for direct cremation, and fewer people are choosing more traditional services. So that's cutting into the core of what has always been done. So again, just a ton of strong competition out there. What about call volume? For some of you, call volume is down. For others, call volume isn't down, but they're facing the issue of not having enough staff to help them. So costs are going up, margins are down, and then for some, call volume is down too. So there are certainly a lot of changes happening. And then there's also that whole COVID accelerated mortality impact, which is, the theory that there's a lot of unexpected deaths that happened back in 2020, and that has led to a dip in call volume now, because those people who typically would have been passing away now passed away during the pandemic. For some people, they're in a bit of a lull, and it could be another 3 years or so before things go back to normal. So consumer preferences are shifting, right? In some areas, 95% of families are choosing the most basic and cost-effective options. We have changes. The green movement is starting to gain steam. Recently, I had a post on LinkedIn. I noticed that a lot of people interacted with it, and it's all about how there's a new coffin out that's made out of mushroom. So there's a lot of changes that are happening. But what we do know is that those days of the $20,000 gravesite burial, funeral, full memorials are few and far between now. So most funeral homes around the country have to deal with all of these things that are happening. Real estate, they have to still pay the roof over their heads. They still have to pay their employees. So really what we're seeing is that we're in uncharted waters. And many of the funeral directors who've been in the industry for decades are facing challenges that they've never seen before. But here's the thing, that with every challenge comes a new opportunity. Okay. And I believe that with adapting, as we adapt the technology, things are becoming more and more efficient. We will spend less money on labor, truthfully, because of AI. And as we adapt, we may be looking at things like more call volume versus the number of services that we have. We have to find a way to leverage AI and marketing so that we can increase the number of people that we're serving and still try to keep those margins. And really, there's a lot of innovation when it comes to that. People are talking about multiple ownership is becoming a big thing, where a lot of owners are consolidating. So there's just a lot going on at the moment. And so the goal is what we're really looking to solve today is to make sure that your funeral home has a great website so that people, when they get there, you can either, if they are at need, they will contact you, and you have a greater possibility of that happening. And that means that your site is built to convert. And the other part of this is that you're able to collect their information, okay? And that information can then be used to educate them. Most people don't understand why a memorial is a good idea, and that's why they're going to direct cremation. If you have the opportunity to explain to them that a memorial is the place that creates the space for grief, then you have a higher chance of them actually doing the memorial or actually having a memorial. Also, if you were to turn around and make the space where you can talk about pre-planning, then you will have a better opportunity for more people to pre-plan. Okay. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many people are coming to your website. Really, what matters is what they do while they're there. Are they going to the obituaries and filling out a form that gathers you to capture their email address and build a relationship and educate? Are they going to your website when they are at need and they need to know who to call and where to call? And are they easily able to find that? These are the important things that we need to go through. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And you can consistently convert a site visitor into a lead, right? Into someone that's going to call you. And in my opinion, what's even more important is converting that lead into an actual customer, right? Because it's not just about getting inquiries, it's about generating consistent, reliable services, calls that will bring in the steady revenue and allow your funeral home to grow while continuing to serve your community. Now, you could have a busy funeral home if when you've got things dialed in, your phones are ringing, your funeral home is thriving, you have enough margin now to actually possibly grow and get a second location. And when you have enough lead flow and there's predictable ways to generate new calls, you can confidently make decisions, right? If you know that you can invest X amount of dollars into your marketing and that will bring X amount of new families, then you can decide where you're going to put your money and what you're going to do with it. Are you going to expand your team? Are you going to invest in new services? Are you going to strengthen your presence in the community? And ultimately, that's the goal. The goal is to have the freedom and the resources to do all of this. And the thing is that when you start to build momentum and see consistent growth in your funeral home, it's really going to put you on a different trajectory or path, right? And you can expand your team. And like I said, maybe get a second location or make a deeper impact in the community. So your website is your hub, okay? It is the hub of your entire marketing strategy. And whether that marketing strategy includes community outreach, newspaper ads, being on Google, everything is going to lead back to your website, right? If you're developing a relationship with your community, with an organization, or with hospice, and people hear about you, they're going to Google who you are. They will go to your website, right? So the reality is before a family actually calls you, fills out a form, starts a chat, they always visit your website first. So that means that your website has to be clear, professional, and really built to convert, right? Otherwise, you're going to be losing valuable leads and opportunities. So let's take a look at the math real quick. And this is going to help us understand a little bit better the importance of this, right? If your website is getting 500 people a month, right? And they may be coming from SEO, Google Ads, local service ads, referrals. But if they don't, but if your website is low performing or it's underperforming, um, you're not gonna get. It's going to make a substantial difference. Okay. At 500 website visitors per month, at a 5% conversion rate, only 25 families will actually reach out. And usually 40% of those will then turn into a booked appointment or so. Let's just imagine that your average service is $3,800, right? That would mean $38,000. And if nothing changes, you don't spend more on ads, SEO, or marketing, and you just improve your website. So let's say that you don't have any more spend, but you just make these modest improvements, and you go from that from that 5% conversion rate to a 15% conversion rate. Well, now you have 75 families that are reaching out to you. And if you're booking 40% of those calls, then you've got 30 booked services, right? With using the same numbers, $3,800 average service, that would mean that in 1 month, you made $114,000. So that's an increase of $76,000 a month. All right. And that can happen. Of course, it depends on where you live. It depends on the population, the death rate, how many, if you're in a densely populated area and you're driving 500 people to your website per month, that can make all the difference. And I'm talking excluding people who are going to look at obituaries. I'm talking about people who are actually at need. All right. This is mission critical. Okay. This could make all of the difference. Okay, so is your website set up to convert visitors to callers, right? Now, let's take a closer look at what makes a funeral home website effective, right? Keep in mind, your website is not a brochure. This is a tool that helps family take action and reach out when they need you. So let's take a look at some of the key elements that help convert visitors into calls. And we're using this site in particular. This is a site that we worked alongside with Tukios on for one of the funeral homes that we work with. And if you notice, one of the key elements up on the upper right-hand corner, there is a button there for the phone number for somebody to call, available 24/7. There's no doubt in a visitor's mind that somebody is available and that they can hit that button and get someone on the phone. That's the first thing. The other thing is you see a clear call to action above the fold that says contact us. Again, when they hit that button, it will call them. And we even have a widget on the lower right, left-hand corner of a phone icon that somebody can click on to call. Okay. You'll also notice that, the navigation bar is easy, right? You see immediate need right there, front and center. The service categories in the menu: immediate need, obituaries, services, pre-planning, grief support. This ensures that the families who come to the site can quickly find the information that they're looking for. The next thing is, and one thing that I'm not showing here is trust and experience based on longevity. I know many of the funeral homes, most of them that we speak with, are run by families for generations or have been around for a very long time. This one in particular is relatively new. But if you have been around for a long time, put that front and center: the years of service, and again, testimonials, and any community involvement that you might have as well. So ask yourself, is your phone number easy to find, especially for immediate need? Do you have a clear call to action button that says like call now or contact us or schedule a consultation that is above the fold? Now, some people have asked me, what is above the fold and below the fold? Again, above the fold, remember the old-fashioned newspaper, these things called newspapers? They would be folded in half, and that front, right, that you would see without actually folding the bottom half, was considered above the fold, and it was considered prime real estate on that newspaper. That's what we have on our website. If somebody does not have to scroll down, that's above the fold. So you want to have your call to action, that button that says do something, call us now. And we want it to be call now or contact us. We don't want to just make it learn more, because families are not visiting, at-need families are not visiting websites just to learn more about the funeral home. They're at need, they want to call somebody. Now, we're talking about at need. We know that 85% of people who visit websites are going to websites to look at obituaries, okay? But that's why we have obituaries are typically on the homepage and definitely on the navigation bar at the top, okay? Ask yourself, is it simple for families to find the services that they need on the site? And does your website build trust? Does it have testimonials as well? Okay. So the next part of this, when we design a website and when we look at what is the copy that we're going to use, we need to create what we call a customer avatar. Okay. And we do that because we need to understand who we're speaking to, and so that we know how to speak with them. So we want to look through demographics, for example. And I gave you an example here so that you could see how that's filled out. You can feel free to go through this. You're going to go through age, gender, marital status, family structure, income, values, personal traits, locations, and role. You really want to look at that, because if you are, for example, in a community where people are very traditional, possibly religious, you would speak to them one way. If you are in a community that is, say, low income, and they're always looking for affordable options, you want to put that front and center. So there's all kinds of different things that you want to do according to who you're serving. Folks, if you're working with an agency and they're not asking you these questions, you really need to look closer at what they're doing. You need to look at their pains and frustrations as well. And you want to do that because you want to write your copy so that it counters the pains and frustrations that they're feeling. Okay? And that's really how this translates into a website, right? The messaging should be clear, right? Avoid industry, jargon that might confuse families. And again, things should be easy to find. Now, we just spoke about the fears, and now we need to talk about the goals and the desires. All right. Everyone, and we're talking specifically at need families here, because that for every funeral home I speak to, that's where most of their business comes from, right? So you need to talk to people that may be scared of making a wrong decision. They may be worried about pricing. They may be worried about whatever traditions their family has in place, and they want to make sure they honor their loved ones in a meaningful way. So you want to put all of those things front and center on your website so that they could see that you are the answer to those questions. Okay. Now, here's the deal. If you want your funeral home to stand out in a crowded market, you have to live and breathe a few key principles. And first, it's the 24/7 non-negotiable, right? Unfortunately, families don't get to choose when tragedy strikes, and they shouldn't have to wait for help, right? So we want to put it front and center that we're always there 24/7, even if you're using an answering service, right? You want people to know that they can call. Now, the next, we need to talk about our team. That about us, that our staff page is very important because this is also where you set yourself apart. You need experience, compassionate individuals on the front line, and you should really build up your staff and yourself if you are both the owner and the funeral director on that page. Then get into the personalized service. You could talk about how you have celebrations of life. You could talk about how you do green burials. You can talk about all of these things so that people understand that you're not a cookie cutter funeral home. Really, the magic happens when you take the time to understand the family's needs and deliver something that really reflects their loved one's life. Okay. Comprehensive services, this all goes into the personal, respectful part of it as well. Military funerals, green burials, all of that, celebrations of life. You want to let them know that they have all the options available to them. And this is where offline and online meet. Are you locally rooted? Do you have a presence in your community? This is a great pillar to use. And again, to display on your website and on social media. Okay. And here's the bottom line. What you're offering here is peace of mind, right? Stand behind your service and be there for them when it matters most. You want to let them know that you are the place to go to, right? And you can do that directly on your website. Now, here's another tip. Be real and authentic, right? And one of the most powerful ways to build trust with families is to be real and authentic. And this example does this really well. You want to showcase your team. You don't want to use generic stock photos. This funeral home that we work with, again, has real images of their staff. And this will instantly make the website more personal and relatable. Right? It's different when you're showing the staff and your actual website than using stock images, right? If you are privately owned, if you're family owned, you want to highlight that along with the community ties. The type of language that you use is going to be important. So make sure that the copy for the website is written in a way that is clear, but it's warm. Okay. One of the number one complaints that I read about when I read reviews when they're not good, it's that things feel very transactional. So you definitely want to avoid that. Now, you definitely want to showcase proof. Okay. Social proof. When an at-need family is trying to choose a funeral home, they want to feel confident and reassured in the decision that they're making. So one of the best ways to build that trust is by showcasing social proof. This is like real testimonials from families that you served. So there's two things that I'd like to cover here. One, technically speaking, we could very easily feed Google reviews into a website. We do that for the funeral homes that we work with. And number two, why does social proof matter? It's really positive reviews remove doubt. So again, there's a lot of uncertainty for at-need families that don't know who to turn to. They are going to look at the number of reviews that you have. They're going to look at the star rating, and they might read the reviews as well. So this is really important. Just use real client examples, and then you want to emphasize really the strong points of your funeral home. And remember to place them on key pages. So you want to have them on your homepage. You could also have it on your about page. You could also have it on your services page. and then use real names. And like I said, a lot of this will plug in automatically. All right. Is your website mobile friendly? I think that in this day and age, everybody realizes, right? Most of people going to websites are on mobile phones. I would say the majority. So you talk about 70% plus are coming from a mobile phone. So your mobile experience is super important, right? Take a look at, you know, what your website looks like on a mobile phone. And remember that Google actually reports that 40% of families will turn to another funeral home if they have a bad mobile experience on a website. So that means that nearly half of the people who land on your website could leave simply because it doesn't navigate well on a phone. So this is very, very important. Now, when families need a funeral home, they want to speak to someone immediately. So a click to call button is super, super important here. A lot of people are searching online on their phones, and you want to have that button call us visible, and you click on it, and they get to talk to somebody. Now, live chat is an option. Now, most visitors leave a website without engaging. And this means that you may lose potential cases, right? One of the things that we recommend doing is putting a chat widget on your website. And one of the newer developments that we have for the chat widget is we can actually feed it a body of knowledge, and it can carry a conversation with a site visitor and alert you and transfer that call over to you. This can be another powerful feature that a percentage of the people will use and will help you with those people go to your website and then bounce off. Maybe they won't bounce off when they're able to do this. Remember, we have to meet the consumer where they're at. So right now, Generation X, they're the decision makers, and we have to meet them where they're at. Next will be millennials, and they don't want to be making phone calls a lot. They want to be texting and chatting. So that may be the way. Now, just a few things that we'd like to really emphasize and think about, right? 85% of the website traffic goes to obituaries. I mentioned this earlier. So remember that most people are not shopping, they're not pre-planning, they're not at need. They're looking for obituaries. And if most of the people are coming to look at obituaries, this is your number one opportunity to capture attention and to capture emails and drive traffic to your services. And we've been asked, like, how can we make this happen? There's many different ways that we can do this. If we custom built a website for you, we can build this in the obituary to subscribe to obituaries or stay posted. But if you're on Tukios, you actually have this built in. You can capture those emails. What we do is then we take those emails and we create a sequence of follow-up emails where we are creating a relationship with that audience. We are thanking them for the visit online. We're telling them about grief. We're telling them about pre-need. We're giving them education so that we stay top of mind. We can also send a message out during certain holidays. And we find that that helps to bring them back and helps to keep us top of mind. Okay. Another thing to take into consideration here is that 60% of Google searches now result in 0 clicks. This is a new stat that just came up from Google. It's super important because really what it's emphasizing is the importance of AI summaries. I don't know if you guys have tried it, but if you go on Google and you search for something, a lot of times you will get a snippet and it will be AI generated. And what we're seeing is that AI summaries are actually giving people the information that they need without actually bringing them to your website. So direct traffic and content distribution right now is more important than ever. You have to create things or reasons for people to come to the website because searching and finding you is not going to be enough. And the number one referral source to funeral home websites, this is based on 4,000 plus websites that have been reviewed by Tukios. The number one referral source is social media. So you've got those obituaries, post them to social media because that's actually bringing people onto the website, into the website, which is what you want. This is actually outpacing Google search. And if you're not sharing every obituary intentionally, you're losing reach. You're losing people going to your website. And then you're not top of mind. Okay. Keep in mind that everyone should have an obituary because the 25% of deaths that don't result in a published obituary represent missed opportunities. Okay. It's a missed opportunity to drive digital visibility for your funeral home. Now, here's some actionable conversion boosters. All right. Take into consideration that longer, well-written obituaries will lead to more engagement. More engagement leads to more flower sales, more guest book entries, more email subscribers. Um, they become keepsakes and conversation points, and basically this will lead to more pre-need access to you, more event registrations and stuff like that. So be sure that you are using the obituaries to collect that what we call first party data, which is email addresses. That email list is going to become your direct marketing channel, right? And it's going to be independent of Facebook or Google. This is data that you own that you can now help use to help your business. You can actually always share out the obituaries, and as you share them, that'll bring more people to you. And remember that the obituaries are a digital version of word of mouth marketing. Okay. So it's not just an announcement, it's an engine for website traffic. Take that into consideration. It's helping your what they call GEO or AEO, right? Which is related to SEO, right? So people can get to your website better. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? There's AI and GEO, right? I'm sorry, GEO is generative engine optimization. This is the almost like the new version of SEO. If you guys remember SEO, if you've heard the term, it's search engine optimization. Search engines like Google. So when someone goes to Google, we want to optimize to our website so people can find us. Now, what we want to do is we want to optimize so that this AI basically can find us. Keep in mind that AI already has obituaries, right? It's already scraping that data. So you want to make sure that it links back to you. And you can embrace AI. You can provide tools for families to write AI assisted obits, but make sure that they're reviewed with a personalized human touch. That's what we recommend. And let's talk a little bit about emotional and strategic framing. So the obit's no longer just a checkbox, right? This is the best organic marketing channel. You got 85% of people coming to your website because of obits. We want to keep them coming to the website. You need to think of your funeral home website as a digital version of your funeral home. So think about it. You have more people coming because of a service. This is the same physically going to your funeral home. This is the same thing online. Okay. And also remember, it's important because social media has a shelf life. We just got, that was just proven because Facebook just took down all of the recordings that were kept there from live streams from memorial services. And, as time goes, those all posts and obituaries on social get buried. But if you have them available through your website builds long-term value. People are going to go back there. This should be key for everybody to see. This is why it's so important to make sure that your website is clean, modern, really reflects the services that you offer and the type of funeral home that you are. And I really hope that this was helpful for you, and I really hope it was informative for you, and that you were able to pick up some great information that could help your conversions, and it could help drive more people to your funeral home. As I mentioned earlier, our mission is really simple. It's to protect your business, really just stay ahead of the competition and help funeral homes and crematories adapt to this changing landscape. This is what we are experts in. If you would like us to help you with that, if you would like us to go through and actually what we do is we're offering you a free roadmap. We'll take a look at your website, we'll take a look at your advertising strategy, we'll take a look at all your marketing, and we'll create a marketing roadmap for you. If that interests you, give us a call at 855-674-1008 or visit our website at funeralmarketingpros.com/strategy. My name is Oscar Guerrero, and I look forward to seeing you at our next workshop. Thank you.